On, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on in to the PWTorch Fireside Chat for Monday, December 19th, 2022. How's it going, guys? Almost holiday time. Hopefully you guys are doing well. Hopefully you had a really good weekend. It is going to snow a ton here in Chicago. So, yes, I'll be snowed in for what it's worth. Hopefully it makes for a white Christmas. I know my kids would certainly appreciate that. So yeah, Hassan, hello, what's going on? Steven, hello, what's going on? Thanks for being with us here today live, and it's Monday, so we're here to preview this week's episode of Monday Night Raw. Dr. Ross, what's going on, man? Merry Christmas to you as well. Very much appreciated, my friend. Yeah, so we're here to preview Monday Night Raw, and it's a bit of a how do I put this? A bit of a slower show, I think, this week than others. They tried, so I give them credit for that. They absolutely tried to make this happen. But I still think it's a bit of a quiet Raw, a bit of a quiet time for wrestling in general, and WWE is going to kind of find that to be their issue this week. But they have booked a good chunk of stuff for the show tonight. I just don't think that it's all super compelling, I guess. Let me put it that way. I think that there's a little left to be desired on that front, I guess. But hey, A for effort, right? They're still going up against Monday Night Football. Rams against the Packers, two teams that are out of it. So, well, I guess Packer fans out there, Sean, if you're going to join us later, you might be like, out of it? Hey, we're not your Bears, but nonetheless, not necessarily like a super compelling game, from a competition standpoint. I mean, obviously, I'm no Packer fan, folks, but I think they probably take it tonight, given the state of the Rams. So with that said, look, there's some not big time stuff happening, but there's some stuff happening on Raw tonight, and that's what we're here for. We're here to break it down. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I really hope that you do. Really hope that you will. We are just churning out content for you guys, and really, you guys are a big part of helping us create this environment here on YouTube. It's been a really fun year as far as that goes, in terms of being here live every day and chatting with you guys on a regular basis, and just it's been super fun as far as that goes, and we really appreciate it. And so if you haven't subscribed, click the little subscribe button. We've got big plans for 2023 and even the rest of this year. So please do so. It'd be much appreciated. All right, Monday Night Raw. Here we go. Two major matches of the night that have been announced. The first one is Becky Lynch versus Bayley. And on paper, you say to yourself, wow, Becky Lynch versus Bayley, that's huge. That's a huge match. That's pay-per-view level. That's maybe like a SummerSlam worthy match, or heck, even a WrestleMania match. You could make that argument, I think, without question. And it's a good match, but it's just not what it could have been at this point in time, I think, in my opinion, right? Like, I just don't have a sense that Bayley in particular is a hot enough act where you're like, this matters a ton, she's kind of gotten to be really cold since her return. And I think a lot has gone into that fact. And I think it's a hard fact to argue if you're going to argue, no, I don't think so. I don't think there's any issue there. Well, I would argue that point, because I think there is an issue there. But mainly, though, it's just, to me, the same gimmick that she had before she left. And here's the deal. Bayley was doing some of this type of shtick as a heel before the pandemic, right? But the shtick really got going like during the pandemic era, right? Like that's when she started to roll with this kind of like heel character. And you have to remember there was no fans at that point. And when there were fans, they were virtual on the screen. And when there were fans, they were like planted, NXT Performance Center students, right, in the crowd. So like the gimmick itself, I don't think is very like battle tested in front of a live audience. It just doesn't have that type of test behind it. And it's stale because we've seen it now done a lot from her. And if it was never really all that over, like from a fan in building perspective anyway, that's two things that you have working against you if you're Bayley. And so that to me is the biggest issue for why she's cold. And then plus it just doesn't seem like there's any momentum there on her end. Like I think you can see guys like Roman Reigns, guys like Sami Zayn, even like mid-card guys like Chad Gable and the Street Profits and Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio and Ray and I, you can see kind of like a enjoyment in their performance, even if they're heels, like Rhea Ripley, right? You can tell she's feeling it. She's into what she's doing. She's into it. And with Bayley, it's very much like, okay, I'm gonna walk in the park here and do my thing and get booed and insult the crowd, and it just doesn't really go anywhere. There's not a lot of passion there, which is so weird to say about the Bayley character, because for so long that character has been like deeply rooted in passion, right? As a babyface, like she was like the fan and the hugger, and like it just seems like she's like kind of just treading water and in this quicksand and doesn't really feel any sense of urgency to get out of it. And that's a bit of a problem, and I think right now she's in the position that she's in because of those things colliding head on. I mean, when you think of WrestleMania plans for Bayley, I mean, I don't think she's going to get a top match. Even with a 2-night WrestleMania, I don't think she's in line for a top match. I think that's saying something for somebody that was so over and such like a staple of the show for a very long time. To kind of be where she is right now is really interesting. And so what does that mean though? Right? To me, character refresh, not like a big overhaul, not like, something like totally drastic from what we're seeing now, but like significant enough tweaks where you can say to yourself, all right, there's something different going on here. And so we need, so pay attention. I think that is essential at this point in time. Let's go to some comments here about Bayley as we talk about this. Steven jumping in. I've never been a fan of Bayley. She briefly got better before getting injured, but has regressed again. You hit the nail on the head. Just is what I was saying. It's like she's been there and she kind of found it for a bit, but reminder though, right, guys, like there was no fans there. We don't really know how it would have played out with an audience full of people. We just don't know. Dr. Ross, there is a lack of humor in the Bayley character now. She just seems permanently annoyed, frustrated, miserable. Yeah, big part of it. And I think a lot of it for me is that it comes off like that in real life, like that she's really, truly not feeling what she's doing, that she's miserable in the role that she's playing or in the role that she has in the company and annoyed by the creative or whatever, but it's very, she almost is playing that part a little too well. I think it's just a put on. Azan, Bayley seems out of it lately and on airplane mode. Yeah, just kind of going through the motions. Do I think she hates her creative right now? I mean, I don't know, so it's tough to speculate. I would hate my creative right now if I were her, because I don't think it's doing anything for her. I don't think it's doing anything for her. I don't think it's doing anything for the show. I don't think it's doing anything for top baby faces. You look at Bianca Belair, and after Becky Lynch this year, a key person that she had multiple matches with and a longer term feud with was Bayley. And Bianca Belair, I think, is in a worse position now than she was back at SummerSlam and that she was back at WrestleMania. So, there is no like Bayley dust, if you will. She's not bringing the best out of her opponents and important opponents like Bianca. That's an issue. That is an issue. Steven, again, Ross, how every pub has a miserable barmaid. That's Bayley. Yeah, kinda. You guys crack me up. That's hilarious. Yeah, pretty much. And I know exactly what you're talking about. Dr. Ross, perhaps we need an emergency face turn with Kai and Scott turning on her. I mean, maybe. Generally speaking, I don't like the turn babyface when the heels turn on you. I babyface turn may be the way to go here. I mean, that could be a way to salvage some of this, but I think it has to be Bayley like making the turn, like Bayley feeling some momentum from the audience, and then boom, like turning on the audience, on Io Sky and Dakota Kai. Then you've got two heels to work with right out of the gate. You can get a little momentum, you can get a little hot, and then who knows what happens next. But that might be a way to salvage some of this, guys, because it's just not in a good position right now. I wonder, this is an interesting point, and maybe this is something we want to discuss on Thursday with Tyler on our flagship show, but how would a face Bayley work at this point in time? Like, because as you were saying, guys, you're not really going to go back to the hugger thing, right? Like, I feel like that like ran its course, right? Like that's kind of ran its course. It's done its thing. And it just, you're not going to go back to it. Like it was a moment in time that made sense for professional wrestling and made sense for NXT. And you're just not going to go back to it. Right. So can you do a Bayley babyface character that's not that? I'll say this. You guys know me. I'm the money guy. There is money in the hugger thing coming back. There just is. Imagine like the shirts and the merchandise, and the kids will love it. And you can do the Bayley buddy things again. And you can do, the music, right? Like that music is so catchy for Bayley. Like there is money in that. Like kind of like when the Shield came back, right? There's money in that type of reunion and type of legacy tour. I think you have the same thing with Bayley if you want it at some point. But that's like a nostalgia run. I would like to see this iteration of Bayley turn into something, significant as a babyface. Can she do it? I don't know, because this gimmick is so cold right now that I don't even know how you get it to the level of momentum where you want fans to cheer. It'll be interesting to see. All right, then on the other side you have Becky Lynch, and who I think has been frankly underutilized since coming back to the main roster. Like it just seems to me that she's the biggest star on the show. How could she not have more of a story right now or more of a presence on the show? She's the biggest star. I think all stories need to run through her, like main event level stories. Like tell stories with her. She's your biggest babyface talent, and she's kind of on the back burner. That's not how I would use her. I would be like, look, if Ronda Rousey's in the cards and she's the plan for WrestleMania for Becky Lynch, you have to go that route and get her hot. Yeah, please, yes, Sean Radican jumping in. Someone is going to get hit with the candy cane tonight for sure. I'm going to roll my eyes for sure. And yeah, they're probably not doing any serious care work. I'm not saying this should be done today, right? Like from a Bayley turn perspective, absolutely not. Just down the road, I think you want to look at it. But Becky Lynch, back to Becky Lynch. She's somebody that I think WWE can lean on more on Monday nights and get her a feud going. Royal Rumble's coming. There's going to be a lot of women that are in the mix on that. We've seen Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch teased. So Becky might just be in a bit of a holding pattern right now. But when you guys talked earlier about, hey, get ratings going, like, I think Becky Lynch is a good way to do that. And to this point has just been underutilized in that regard. As far as who wins tonight, I mean, tough crowd. Tough call too. Like, you want Bayley to maybe get a victory, or even if it's a shenanigans victory, because she is so ice cold at the moment, right? Like, she just does not, have anything going as far as that goes, as far as her character goes. And so some momentum that could help her is a big win, even if it's by some kind of underhanded tactic, right? Some underhanded measure. You could make that argument, but I wouldn't do that. I'm going Becky Lynch here, and I'm going clean. Becky, there's more equity in her right now. She's a hotter act. She's a hotter commodity for Raw. She's presumably going to be in a bigger match at WrestleMania and is going to be like an actual player when it comes to the Royal Rumble at the end of January. So there's lots of reasons why you want to go with Becky here, and I don't think any of the Bayley reasons are more important than what's going on with Becky. We'll see. I'm picking Becky to win, and I'm picking her to win relatively clean. But hey, let's see. Okay, everybody's talking about Uncle Howdy in the chat. Radican's bringing up Uncle Howdy. Boy, oh boy. I watched that late, so I watched it a couple days after the fact, and boy, my goodness gracious, that was something. This is where I know this is a Raw preview, but this is where the Bray Wyatt stuff gets into trouble. That made no sense. First of all, it didn't make any sense. Second of all, I thought it looked like super minor league too. Like, the Uncle Howdy outfit just seemed like somebody put it up, like somebody put it together like a children's Halloween costume or something like that, or like a something for like a children's play. Like, it was not good. And yeah, no, I know, Ratkin, I know. It was not good. And you see that and you go, oh man, can we trust Paul Levesque to be in charge of a Bayley babyface turn at this point? Like, the trust factor there kind of goes out the window. It was a White Sox hat. It was a White Sox hat that was ripped. All right. My goodness gracious. He needs to like have a couple hits and a couple wins here from a creative perspective, because some big things recently have not gone, I think, very well. And you just want to build up some equity. He had a lot of it, and I think he still deserves some, because you're not going to hit on everything, obviously. But when you think of storylines that are coming up, like on Raw and SmackDown, when you think about Cody's potential return, Becky facing Ronda, what's going to happen with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline? Like, I think Triple H is going to be masterminding those, and you want to see some base hits before he has to hit home runs on that upper tier level. And we just haven't seen that in a bit. So War Games was pretty good. I'll give him that. But you guys know what I mean. All right. Also tonight on the show, we've got the Street Profits against the Judgment Day. Okay, I think that it's a match. I don't know what kind of significance it's going to have. You've had those two sides been at odds with one another. So it's a match. I think it's going to be one of those matches that fills a lot of time on the show, and probably goes longer than it probably should. Wade talked about that on the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show last week, that you have these matches that are just going longer than maybe they should, because Triple H he's almost like he's refusing to cram more stuff on the show, but he's just dragging everything out a little bit longer. Hence, as you guys are talking about in the chat, how long it took for Uncle Howdy to get introduced, right? Like, it took a long time, but it seems like that's by design at this point. And I think this match is going to be that. I go Judgment Day here. The Street Profits were once kind of like on the up and up as far as like one of the hotter tag teams. And then because of no fault of their own, like injuries kind of took them off television for a bit, and they just haven't found their stride yet since coming back. And Judgment Day is on a different level. They have, I think, a lot of strong pieces to their game right now, and they've really helped add a layer to Dominic Mysterio. They've helped add big layers to Rhea Ripley in terms of what she's done, and she's totally repositioned herself from a place on the card perspective. Whereas, in the middle of the summer, not that long ago, she was kind of like another failed NXT call up. And I think she's very much changed the tone on that and changed the WWE perspective on her and the fan perspective on her. And that's all been because of the Judgment Day faction. And I mean, not her work, obviously, but the Judgment Day faction has allowed her to like root that character somewhere. And I think you've got to continue to feed that, continue to feed it until you find the time to kind of slow it down. But right now they're able to, from a 3-hour Raw perspective, they're all over that show. Multiple backstage segments, multiple in-ring segments, multiple matches from the group. So, I think you just absolutely keep them behind them and let the Street Profits find their way coming out of this. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, oh my gosh, I can't wait to talk about it. You know me. We got Dexter Lumis against The Miz in a ladder match for all the marbles, all the money, a winner take all. All of Miz's money that he should have paid to Dexter Lumis is now on the line and then some when they collide in a ladder match. Guys, this has been a mess from the very beginning. It was fun seeing Dexter Lumis like appear on Raw that one time, the first time, and then wondering kind of like, all right, what's going to happen? And then this thing, as Sean, as you're pointing out, has really, really dragged on. I mean, and not in a good way. And it's taken down like multiple like talents. I think The Miz, this is kind of his sweet spot, right? Like this is kind of what he does. I think he delivers in this type of match, in this type of role. Lumis, like, first of all, I can't see that guy having a good ladder match. I just can't. So it's going to be real interesting to see how he performs in this. But the guy that I think is dragged down most is Johnny Gargano, Johnny Wrestling. Like, the fact that Triple H, of all people, the guy who has seen kind of like the rise of Johnny Gargano in NXT and the type of momentum he can generate for a brand and for a show, the type of matches he can have, to have him utilized on the main roster in this way is more Vince McMahon like than anything else. And so it's so bizarre to me that you have him kind of being the agitator in this on behalf of Lumis, and he's almost like a manager at this point, and not a likable one either. I think he comes off as a little smug. He comes off a little arrogant. It's just been awful for him. And yeah, you have this silly story about just money. You owe me this money, and no, I'm not paying you that money. It's like, what are we doing here? This is on national television. Seriously? Like, yeah, you guys know I haven't liked any of this. I'm sure I'm interested in seeing how the match goes. I give WWE credit for kind of booking this out, even if it's lasted too long, like trying to put on like different types of main event matches on a week-to-week basis. Credit for that. This just has not been good, and again, it's another kind of creative miss. Another kind of creative miss for Triple H as he kind of leads Raw here. So, yeah, we'll be interested to see how this goes. Lumis, I think, takes this, and then that's the end, hopefully. Here's the thing. If Miz wins this match, that means the story has to go on, right? Because, Miz isn't going to win this in the end, right? Like, I just don't see that being a thing. So you got to have Lumis win. For the love of God, he's got to win. Put an end to this. Put an end to it right away. Please, folks. Please. Christoph, you're making a point that I've heard come up maybe even tonight. Not so much as to reunite Ciampa and Gargano, but, first of all, that tag team would be super interesting. Think about it. What's the one big match that's out there for them to have, right? DIY against, the Usos. That's out there. That would be one hell of a match. But you have Ciampa on the when he left television, he was on the side of the Miz. So you could have him get involved in that perspective, and even if he's going to be opposite Gargano to start that story of them reuniting together, you may see that happen tonight, but in a different vein, right? In a vein that Ciampa returns, helps the Miz, Gargano is out there. Now they're together on camera, and now you tell that story, down the road. That'd be cool. I'd be on board with seeing that. It would at least make Johnny Gargano's involvement in this somewhat relevant, right? I think that's important, but I don't know. That's it. That's Raw tonight, guys. That's Raw. That's all that they're promoting. So we'll call it a day there. Thank you so much for joining me. I very much appreciate it. It's been fun as always. Make sure to, again, click subscribe, hit the little notification button so that you guys know when we'll be live on the show. And yeah, just stick around. We'll be live all week and leading up to the holiday, and then we'll be back next week. So there's not a lot of days off coming up for the PWTorch YouTube channel here. So subscribe. You'll know when we're live. And looking forward to talking to you all tomorrow when we talk NXT. Enjoy Raw tonight. I'm PWTorch assistant editor Zach Cadorn. Thank you once again. Talk to you soon.